few weeks before lockdown, I read an article at the Wednesday Club about the oldest man in the world. His name is Robert Wayton, 112 years old. He married his wife Agnes in 1937. They had 3 children, 10 grandchildren, and he now has 25 great-grandchildren. Being an engineer in the Second World War, he worked in a factory making planes for the war effort. Still today, he makes beautiful little windmills, sending the money to charity. He was presented with a certificate from Guinness World Records acknowledging he is the oldest living male in the world in 2020. My point in telling the story was, we all have stories to tell, and set a challenge to the club members to write their stories, to share with others in the club. I wonder how many have taken up the challenge. They certainly had time. The Bible is a book full of stories from the beginning of time in the book of Genesis to the end of times in Revelations, with many stories in between. My favourite story is recorded in the 3 Gospels, Matthew, Mark and John. They all record this event after the feeding of the 5,000. While Jesus went off to pray, he told his disciples to get into the boat and go ahead of him to Bethsaida, on the other side of the lake. During the night, Jesus knew the disciples were in the middle of the lake, struggling to row against the wind. So he went to them, walking on the water. At first they were terrified, thinking he was a ghost. Then he spoke, saying, "Courage, it is I. Don't be afraid." Peter, being Peter, quite headstrong, said, "If it is really you, order me to come out of the boat onto the water to you." "Come," Jesus said. So Peter got out of the boat and started walking on the water to Jesus. But when he noticed the strong wind, he was afraid and started to sink. At once Jesus reached out and grabbed him, saying, "How little faith you have! Why did you doubt?" Maybe at times some of us have had our eyes on the wind, or we could say the media, of fear during this isolation, and taken our eyes off Jesus. I go to keep fit, and when we're asked to stand on one leg, we are taught to keep our eyes focused on something static, straight ahead of us, which stops us wobbling. It is the same for us as Peter. If we keep our eyes fixed on Jesus, it will save our doubts or wobbles, especially during this difficult time we are experiencing now. Let us hang on to a couple of verses of encouragement. In Deuteronomy 31, verse 8, "The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you or forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged." Isaiah 41, verse 10, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand."